I think I read that in The Man Who Would Be Queen, which is available free if you find it. It's quite an interesting treatise.
It is a very interesting treatise.
Cheers exist. Robbie, go ahead.
Thanks.
Pardon?
Oh, I thought Exist did exist.
Yeah, I haven't done the negative yet, have I?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Right. Let us know when you land. Exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, The Man Who Would Be Queen is a really interesting treatise. What I was getting negative about, I really don't like it, but I just find when Rudy says that she's an autoanthophile, and then says that we haven't, because she's an autoanthophile, she has this great insight into autogynephiles. Now, I may be wrong, but to my mind, that does not follow, right? It's like saying, I'm a male human, so I know all about female humans. It's like saying, I'm a lesbian, so I know all about homosexuals. Well, sorry, homosexual men. There's no logic to that. I felt her assertion, which she said last night in a different space as well, actually, that certain things are going to happen in the future, guaranteed. She guarantees certain things are going to happen. Now, that is a phrase that would never leave my lips, and I tend not to take seriously people who guarantee anything in the future, because we really could drop dead next week. So I'm sorry to be negative.
That's
but
fair enough.
Quite frankly, I didn't know what the fuck AAP was, so I was just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, you were just going along with it, weren't you?
Yeah, no, I was partially not listening. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I think Robbie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to the last speaker, it wasn't Rudy who's an AAP. That was someone else, but maybe.
Yeah, I was about to ask, is this woman called Ruby or something? Because I was like, I am not a female trying to be a man.
It was someone called TG.
When we look at AAP, it's autoandrophile. Even the term turns me a bit. But when we look at the way in which Filielli went on, and I know I sent you the link to the book, Robbie.
Belfast. We've already talked about the book.
I know, right? Okay, but what I was going to mention, and I know you like to cut me off, but what I was going to mention was about AAP and how it's completely not anything to do with AGP.
It comes from a different route.
I know, but Fruella.
What's Fruella doing?
We can't hear you, Belfast.
Oh, it's because the universe has muted her, innit?
Belfast, I
muted myself. It's fine.
Oh, no. Like, if you got another point to add to it,
carry on.
Go ahead.
No, honestly, it's fine.
So I'm just going to preface my statement that I'm not true trans. Okay, I don't believe in true trans. I just want to explain. Because I heard the idea basically that all of them are like AGPs, and personally, I don't think so. I just think that there's a lot of people, whether they're young or older, even. I think that sort of manipulation is happening with a lot of people. Because if they were all AGPs, all these young people that are doing this would all be AGPs or AAPs, whatever the fuck that is.
So I was masturbating at 11 years old, and I realized I'm not thinking about the girl, I'm thinking about the guy. And so there was no argument from that. I stopped and I said, oh my God, you're gay. And That was it. And I realized I was gay from then on, and there was no argument because I could look at my own internal history. So there is so the thing is, we get confused, or we get mixed up because of external stimuli a lot, but really all we have to do is look in ourselves and trust what we feel. I know that other people have more complexity to their sexuality and their personhood. I'm not going to put down or say, no, you're wrong, or you just haven't found yourself. I'm not going to say anything like that, because the truth of the matter is that we find ourselves when we find ourselves.
Can I just say that when Dylan said where was I, and I went, you were masturbating at 11.
No, you were masturbating in 11. Yeah, that was quality.
Yeah, that's when my husband just walked in, and
nice.
He was just thinking, what the fuck are you talking about?
Gay men are essentially forcing upon women the ideal of a Brazilian transsexual. That is the ideal female form in the eyes of gay men, is the Brazilian transsexual. That is then forced upon women by these gay men. That has been done for years, and that cannot be denied. The problem here is that there is a vanishingly little amount of MTF in any way that is not in any way connected to a fetish. Men fetishize that weakness. They want to be seen as female because they see that as weak.
I think amongst gay men, the language is more the language that we use that is more feminized is sometimes more because of culture and our some of our femininity versus masculinity argument. So these words come into play. And it's not necessarily so much that we are looking to argue femininity as much as, or to look down upon, or having, I can't remember your exact phrasing, and I apologize for that. However, it's culture, and cultures change. When a culture is ostracized, like the early gay men, and also when I was in Cambodia, I noticed that there was intense drag amongst gay men. There was intense femininity. And I believe that there's a link to ostracization and the need to push feminine nature greater than what would normally occur. Whereas if a culture like, if a microculture like gay culture, not a microculture, but certainly a subculture, if they are accepted, they behave without those feminine tones. And I don't know about Europe, but my generation versus my previous generation cronies versus the those gay people born after 2000, huge difference.
Just very briefly to say that I think when you're talking about the culture is incredibly relevant, and I actually think you're right. They are a product of the culture, but the culture is misogynistic by nature and default, and so therefore it follows by nature that basically these gay men are shaped by culture. The culture is misogynistic, therefore that's the language. If you look at the proliferation of drag culture, but not only that, the terminology is still used by gay men. Fish. I mean, put it this way, one of the biggest and I'm sorry for the language used, one of the biggest hits amongst the gay community was pussy, cunt, cunt. You will hear young gay men say, oh, you served cunt, which means you looked good. Then you will see them saying, you were serving puss. Puss was on fire. And I think the idea that is not in any way linked to femininity or women is wrong.
This is a conversation that has been happening. I'm in a few of the gender critical gay men's like group chats and stuff, and there's different ones on different groups and blah blah blah. And this is a conversation regarding female language that has been happening quite a lot lately, where it never used to be a conversation, because I was always under the understanding that we all knew and agreed upon exactly what gay men meant. I always talk about this. My mother growing up, she always taught me that homophobia is rooted in misogyny, meaning that, not that it's comparable or that it's the same thing, because it isn't, but meaning that the reason why you have so many heterosexual men who hate gay men is because before you even get to the gay man, they hate women. And by extension, they hate femininity. It's just an extension of their hatred for everything feminine. I grew up always being taught by other gay people, including lesbians, that the reason why gay men use things like cis, she, things like that to refer to each other, even bitch, right, was sort of like an act of rebellion. Like, you hate that you perceive me as being feminine by virtue of me being gay, and you hate that. Well, watch me be feminine. It's she now. And to me, if we're going to go down that rabbit hole, I don't want to take away lesbian language from lesbians. And they do use a lot of male language to refer to themselves. You know, there's lesbian studs. There's lesbians who refer to their partners as, oh, isn't she so handsome? And things like that.
So I just feel that this AAP thing is a rationalization. Male sexuality informs female sexuality before women and girls have even had a chance to. So I don't really think we have a clear picture of it. I do know that these fucking these autogynephile chasers in, you know, in Roblox and on Minecraft and in every other fucking game and on every single internet platform, you know, they're grooming confused, often ASD trait girls into believing that they've got this or that or the other. So that's why I reject AAP for the moment. Maybe people will take a little bit longer to form their identity, but they're often deeply sensitive, often very artistic, mathematically gifted, mostly maybe LG or B. So on the homosexual transsexuals, so I found like my social home when I lived in Harare in the 80s. I found like my social home in it was a set of parties. They were called the Pink Triangle parties. So they were mainly gay, mainly lesbians and gay men, and then also a lot of creatives. Just because it was kind of, you know, a little bit avant-garde maybe. And there were always a couple. And I remember them. There were a couple of homosexual transsexuals that hadn't had surgery, but they did perform femininity. But the thing is, none of the gay men were interested in them sexually. The men who were interested in them sexually were the repressed sexual men, and I think they were often actually abused by. I don't know if I'm like making a fool of myself, but anyway, so as far as I'm aware, so I'm in South Africa at the moment. As far as I'm aware, probably in some communities it's the case, but most of the young adults at the endo clinic that have a political, a turfing involvement in because of campaigning, they describe their sexuality as gay. They call themselves gay. Most of the transsexuals, quote unquote, here are gay men. It's a very homophobic society, culturally speaking, and I think, you know, that we need to be honest about that reality as well. So I'm pushing back against that. It's always driven by a fetish. So yeah, thanks.